Hey you guys, it's Teresa and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about my unhaul, which should have been up in like November or October, but when your camera decides to hate unhauls and you can't do it. So, as you guys know, I do like doing unhauls like probably once or twice a year. I think they're very cathartic for me to get rid of books I didn't like or have no plans of reading again. I mean zero shade in how I unhaul these videos or my thoughts on them. If you like them, that's great, and I know that some of these books have meant a lot to other people. It's just that these books just didn't sit right with me. I didn't like them, don't want to reread them, and I don't want them finding dust on my bookshelf or in my bins, so they will find a better home elsewhere. So yeah, with that being said, let's get into it. So the first book that I will be unhauling makes me kind of upset because it kind of ruins my collection of this author that I have thus far, but that is An Abundance of Catherines by John Green, and I couldn't tell you a ton about this book. I just remember that he has dated like 19 Catherines and counting, and he's trying to figure out this weird mathematic equation formula theory into dating women. And honestly, out of the John Green books that I have read thus far, with the exception of I haven't read Turtles All the Way Down or Will Grayson, this was not my favorite John Green book. I struggled to continue on with this, almost DNF'd it, should have DNF'd it. And honestly, I think this can find a better place elsewhere because I just did not enjoy it. The next book that I will be unhauling is 13 Reasons Why by Jay Asher. Now this book follows, well, this trigger warning for suicide. This girl named Hannah has committed suicide and has sent out 13 tapes to kind of the reasons why she committed suicide, to try and get people to understand, to feel empathetic, or however she wants to do it. And now we follow Clay, who is one of the 13 reasons, as he listens through all 13 tapes and finds out why this tragic thing happened. At first, I enjoyed this book. I did. I even had a review of talking about it and its importance and how I think it was great. However, the more it sat with me, then with the release of the TV show coming out, I found there would be problematic aspects of this, especially the revenge suicide aspect, where Hannah commits suicide and sends out these tapes due to her suicide. It was very problematic for me. I didn't enjoy it. I thought that there were other ways to get into the aspect of suicide and the aftermath of suicide and why someone might commit suicide without having to go that route. I think there were some other topics within the TV show and this book that were not handled delicately, is the best way I can say it. And honestly, I think there are better books out there that will handle a topic such as this one better than how this was. And I mean, then Jay Asher was come out with like a sexual assault thing, and now I have no idea where the other one is. It's somewhere in this pile. But the next book that I'm unhauling is No Fear Shakespeare, The Tempest, by I don't know who wrote this, but I have two of these. I think the other one's Hamlet. But so if you guys don't know, in America, we create these things that tell us the actual writing and then the writing in like modern day. And while that's great while you're trying to learn, when you're a student doing 20 other things and a teacher never taught you how to properly read Shakespeare and just kind of threw this book at you, you're going to be reading the more modern aspect. And I don't want this in my bookshelves or bins to remind me of the horrible times I did trying to love Shakespeare as much as I did, when I could have just picked up the book, the normal book, and read it as is. So honestly, I think that these books will find a better home elsewhere, hopefully to someone who needs them and wants them, because I don't want this. I don't want this reminding me how horribly I have failed Shakespeare. I am trying to get back into it, so I don't need this as a temptation in the slightest. The next book that I'll be getting rid of is The Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison. I read this book back in high school, and it's a great, don't get me wrong, it's a great book. It's about, I couldn't tell you, it's been so long. But it's a great book from what I can remember. There's a reason why it's part of the literary canon. However, I personally didn't enjoy it. I thought that the writing, for my recollection, I didn't like it. I'm sure somewhere down the line I'll pick it back up again, but I think this book can find a better home elsewhere. Someone else can find some enjoyment in it or add it to their collection. As of right now, I don't want it in mine, and maybe in the future when I feel nostalgic for high school and the deaths that it put me through, I will pick this back up. The next book that I hope to get rid of, if this one's covered in water damage, is Falling Through the Earth by Danielle Trousseau. This is a memoir, and I don't remember anything about it. It's another book that I read in high school. It's it basically writes the story in two different running lines. One is of her father, and the other one is of her as she kind of traverses through life with a father who is dealing with PTSD. This was a wonderfully, I can remember bits and pieces of the book. I enjoyed it from what I can recall, but I haven't picked it up in years, and I don't have a plan to pick it up at all afterwards. So I think if I can sell it back or donate it to someone else who will take it, it will find a better home elsewhere. The next book that I want to get rid of is Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy. I don't know what this is about. I think it's the Texas-Mexico border war, I believe. I did not enjoy this book. I couldn't get with it, mainly because stylistically this book does wonderful things, but I just could not get into it. I couldn't enjoy it, and I think it can find a better home elsewhere. So here's to hoping that it finds a better home. And it's pretty good conditions, so I'm sure it'll find a home somewhere else. The next book that I want to get rid of is The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne. Is there really... I can't get into this book. I've reread it for school several times. I tried rereading it on my own to enjoy it. And I can't do it. I don't know why. I can't do it. I think I'd rather reread The Crucible 10 times over because I actually enjoyed that witch hunt. The next book I read last year, and that is The Most Hated Man and the Rush to Judgment of Jerry Sandusky and the Rush to Judgment by Mark Pendergast. This follows the really critical and kind of terrifying situation in Pennsylvania where a football coach had been accused of sexual assaulting boys for years and years, and here we kind of see the aspect that had gone wrong with the interviews, the way that it was conducted and everything, and I enjoyed it. I thought this was a great book. However, it is such a heavy topic, and I haven't read too much into it, and I don't feel comfortable having a book that deals with such a heavy topic without having both aspects. This is very biased, and especially for cases like this where so many things had gone wrong, I would rather see kind of a book that talked about everything from every aspect than just a single one. The next one is A Portrait of an Artist as a Young Man by James Joyce. This is a really good book. I enjoyed it. It follows it's like a weird autobiography but not autobiography of James Joyce as he kind of becomes a writer that he is today. I enjoyed reading it. I felt like there were a lot of random themes in there. However, I didn't enjoy it enough to keep it in my stack. I think that it can find a better home elsewhere, and if I can remove the stickers, it'll probably make things a little easier for me to... Nope. Why? I get it. You're trying to sell books, but I don't need 20 different freaking stickers. It's just a waste, and it damages the books and makes them impossible for resale. The next book is The Third Twin by CJ Omololu. This follows two twins, Ava and Lexi, who created a third twin named Alicia to kind of, get rid of things they don't want to have in their life, who ate the cookies, who stole the remote, all that stuff, and followed them into teenagehood where they use it to kiss boys they wouldn't normally kiss, go out on dates they shouldn't be doing, parties and whatnot. That is until one day, one of the guys that Alicia went on a date with is found dead. And I thought the premise of this book was really good. I have a tea talk on it, so I'll leave that down below. But some of the plot twists weren't fleshed out. It was very predictable from what I can remember. I didn't enjoy. There was a weird love thing going on that either needed more expansion or could just not have been included in the book at all. It's a thriller. We don't always need love stories. But the next book I want to get rid of is Every Day by David Levithan. This, if you guys don't know, follows A, who is a being who doesn't have a physical body, but wakes up in a new one every single day. That is until one day they meet Rhiannon, this wonderful girl, and want to stay with her. Now, I was excited for this. I thought there were going to be a lot of topics about gender and sexuality and the fluidity of it all. However, I didn't enjoy this as much as everyone seems to. There were a lot of comments, there were some biphobic comments, there were some transphobic and fatphobic comments in the book, and honestly, I get it. If this is an early 2007 book, it deserves the praise that it got then, but it just didn't sit right with me, considering how A had always stuck around in different bodies. There was never a point in them getting attached or having an opinion of their own. But then all of a sudden they meet this girl and it's just like very stalkery, very obsessed, and then like they never stood up for the people that they were in their bodies of. They just kind of took whatever Rhiannon said about them face value and never pushed it. And it was like, I think some of the opportunities to talk about those said things were lost and made not well. So I have no qualms in giving this a new home. The next one is Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse 5. I read this for school. I enjoyed it. However, I don't think Kurt Vonnegut is my kind of author. I think that it'll find a better home elsewhere, and I just have very bad memories of said class, so I don't want anything at the current moment to remind me about that for a while. So maybe I'll pick this up in the future and see how I like it, but as of right now, I do not enjoy it in the slightest. The next book is Unforgiven by Lauren Kate. This is a spin-off novel to her overall series Fallen, where we follow Cam as he kind of is stuck back in hell trying to win back the love of his life to keep her from falling in the pits of hell. Now, I was excited for this. I love Cam as a character in the series. I thought he was a very interesting character. However, reading this, he kind of became a Daniel Grigori 2.0, and we already have one from the original series. We don't need a secondary one. And I thought that a lot of Cam's most interesting qualities about him throughout the series of Fallen was kind of lost in this one, and I just don't want to be reminded of kind of that aspect of him. I didn't think he needed a love story to redeem himself. I think there were other ways to redeem himself. The next one is Murphy by Samuel Beckett. I don't remember this book in the slightest. I read it for my Irish Lit class, thought it was okay, but nothing too memorable for me to keep it. So the next one is The Awakening by Kate Chopin. This I don't read it for another class. I don't remember much about it. I remember there were a lot of bird references. That was it. I know it's one of the feminist reads that you should always read, and I think I will probably return to it when I'm older, but as of right now, it doesn't have a place on my shelves, belongs somewhere else, and can find a better home elsewhere. The next one is The Sundiata by D.T. Nayan. This is, I don't remember what it is. I think it's an African story. However, I don't remember reading this. I don't remember reading it for class, so I don't know how it got in my shelves, but as it stands, I have no interest in reading it at the moment. So we'll just give it a better home. This one I have no qualms about getting rid of, and that is Hard Darkness by Joseph Conrad. I have read this like 3 or 4 times in my life as a student. I never have enjoyed any time that I read it, so it can just go, truly. And then finally, the last books I'll be getting rid of are the Awakening series, well, The Summoning and the Awakening by Kelly Armstrong. This is a trilogy that I was very invested in when I was younger. I wanted to read it, but I think I've kind of outgrown the series. I have no plans on picking up the last book in the trilogy to finish it off, so it can find a better home elsewhere, and hopefully someone else will enjoy the books as much as I did when I was like in middle school. But that is it for the books that I'll be unhauling. I'm sure another unhaul will be coming around soon, but as of right now, that is it. So yeah, but if you like these videos, hit like. I do try to do these every few months. Subscribe, I upload twice a week, and then all my social media links will be down below. Quick question, if you guys had to unhaul a book at the top of your head from your shelves right now, what would it be? But until then, until my next video, I'll talk to you guys literally everywhere else. Bye!